Yesterday we talked about the description and the lack thereof from the media about the shooter that he was a 17-year-old kid who went down there, Austin, Saturday night, 6th Street, and tried to mow down a whole host of people. 14 people were shot, one person's dead. Another one I think is still in critical condition, but not entirely sure. But me just showing you the picture of that guy, giving you all 5 of his fucking names, did more than Texas newspaper. Because why? I think it's important to identify people who do horrendous shit. I don't care about skin color. I don't care about race. I just care about people doing really dumb fucking shit, identifying them, figuring out what drove them to do such things so we can hopefully prevent that awful history from repeating. But that's not the take of Texas newspaper, because instead of identifying the 17-year-old who did this, who was being charged as an adult, as he should be, they didn't want to perpetuate harmful stereotypes by showing his picture, giving an accurate description. We're really trying to solve this case by the use of crowdsourcing information. I understand why they did this. I still don't know why they did it, though. A major newspaper in Texas said it wouldn't provide a description of a suspect in a mass shooting incident in Austin because it wants to avoid perpetuating stereotypes. Okay, I would just say, just given the information that we had on, let's just say Sunday morning, mass shooting in Texas, what suspect immediately comes to mind? Mass shootings, on the whole, are normally attributed to white guys with a grudge. Let's be fair, that tends to be what happened, especially in Texas. Now, if there was a mass shooting in Chicago, the picture that comes to mind is probably significantly different. But then you start adding in descriptors like Austin, Texas, middle of the night, party district of town, then things get a little bit cloudier. Okay, then we're going to have to find somebody, because that's just not going to be a one-off incident. Okay, we're going to have to get to the bottom of this. And regardless of where this happened, if there's a description of somebody, of the 2 people in this instance, you know who did it, you have a vague description of who these people are, that should probably be out there. You shouldn't find yourself in some sort of a politically correct hellhole where you can't distribute facts anymore. Like, have we really reached this point? Or is this just going to be a one-off, and this newspaper is going to be properly ridiculed for doing as such? Over the weekend, following a late-night shooting in Austin that left 13 people injured and 1 dead, a Austin American-Statesman included an editor's note at the bottom explaining its reason. Editor's note: police have only released a vague description of the suspect shooter as of Saturday morning, the newspaper said, which was flagged by some conservatives on social media. Okay, that would be fine, but shouldn't you be giving said a vague description? The Austin American-Statesman is not including the description as it is too vague at this time to be useful in identifying the shooter. Why? And such publication could be harmful in perpetuating stereotypes. I give you a pretty good example of what you'd immediately think of when you heard mass shooting in Texas. So, okay, is that the stereotype that you want to protect people against? I doubt it. If more detailed information is released, we will update our reporting. I wonder if they did a follow-up after they apprehended the 17-year-old suspect, after somebody identified them and the police apprehended them. I'm just wondering. I don't really care, but I think you guys are a trash outlet for doing this. The Austin Police Department, in a statement to the news outlet, described the suspect as a black male wearing a black t-shirt. The department further described the suspect as having dreadlocks and having a skinny build. I think that's a relatively descriptive description, for lack of a better word. Black guy, black shirt, skinny build, dreadlocks. Approximately how tall do we think? Like again, you can just draw your own conclusions, but change the crime in this one. There have been armed break-ins and everybody's dressed like it's the Purge with masks and everybody's got hoodies on, okay? Because you can't, well, give anything other than, yeah, they were wearing black head to toe and they were all wearing goofy masks. Is that enough of a description to go on? You can't properly identify somebody if they change their clothing or ditch their masks. Like, is that the precedent we want to set here? I highly doubt it. A number of other media outlets, including CBS, included the description of the suspect. Yeah, He was ultimately arrested, but his identity wasn't released by police because he's a juvenile, officials told local media outlets. That was a 15-year-old. On Twitter, commentators, including Post-Millennial's editor Andy No, claimed the American-Statesman refused to print the description of the suspect due to ideological purposes. And I think that's what we can draw, because there was another shooting that went on not that long ago, and I didn't hear about it. Did you guys hear about it? It was actually a multi-state shooting. Now, it wasn't one specific mass shooting incident. It, in fact, was a Georgia-Alabama joint effort by this one guy, 39-year-old guy. He was shooting people, and he had a motive. He described the motive to the police officers, who eventually caught him after a description was put out there, and he was properly apprehended. And this is why you didn't hear about it. A suspect in multi-state shooting spree accused of targeting white men. Yep, that's why he didn't hear this one. Because there's no hashtag for Stop White Hate. No, of course not. But listen, yeah, okay, maybe the Austin American-Statesman would have been onto something. If they would have published that description, they might have accidentally caught this other mass shooter. Skinny guy, black t-shirt, dreadlocks, foam at the sides of the mouth, P tattoo in between the eyebrows. Like, come on, it's just about. I think I'm just leaving out a couple of little details that they could have published, but you know. A 39-year-old black man accused of shooting and injuring 5 people in Alabama and Georgia told authorities, and keep that in mind, that his attacks were racially motivated and he was targeting white men, a detective testified on Monday. Huh. Interesting, right? I didn't hear about this. I only recognized the picture, and I just thought that, okay, maybe this is just another official mugshot from yesterday's report, but no, completely separate incident. Justin Tyron Roberts told police that white men had picked on him. Remember, he's 39 years old. And to be fair, you know what? He's looking pretty young for 39 years old. Black don't crack. And wronged him all his life. Yes, all white men wronged him all his life. Therefore, he needed to get vengeance. Okay? Did you go and target those white guys who actually caused you problems? Or were you just trying to take a collectivist approach and go after specific white guys? And if you went to Alabama, I guess you got your pick of the litter. Georgia, outside of Atlanta, maybe you would have had a little bit of an easier time, but let's see where he did these atrocities. Basically, he explained throughout his life, specifically white males had taken from him. How so? This guy should just get off Twitter. And also, what he described as military-looking white males. What does that mean? This guy's getting hassled by fucking jarheads? I kind of doubt it. Detective Brandon Loghart testified, according to the Columbus Ledger-Inquirer. Roberts also alleged that those men were shooting at him in a wooded area with a slingshot, and that his skin was wounded, testified the investigator, who had added that the police didn't find the wounds to substantiate the claim. Okay. Listen. This is your mind on critical race theory. This is your mind when the media and all your instructors all your life tell you that because of the color of your skin you are inherently disadvantaged, and said instructors need to take care of you at every single turn, that you do not have agency for yourself, and in fact you are just a product of the system. Doesn't that sound like a terrible, terrible life to be leading? And that's the reality for lots of people out there. They buy into this hook, line, and sinker. Want a perfect example of this? Go back to my weekend video where I covered the 215 kids that were, 215 bodies, we don't even know if they're kids at this point, that were discovered in Kelowna during residential school. There's one spurg out there who did 5 long comments and thought he was being really clever because he used it multiple times in multiple comments, calling Canada KK Canada. Cool, bro. Fucking spurged out across everything. Oh, reserves only account for 0.04% of Canada's land. Okay, that's not true. And B, when has a country ever seceded land to a previously conquered nation? Sucks to suck, right? But he didn't even bother listening that far or watching that far, so who knows? Who cares, really? But these are the people who just buy hook, line, and sinker into the victimhood mentality. Something I don't personally buy into, but I can see the appeal of it. If somebody's telling you that, oh yeah, everything that's wrong in your life is not your problem, okay? It's not your fault. It's the system's fault. And We'll just give you little handouts to make it better. But remember, that system at any time, boy, it can just go ahead and it can step on your throat a little bit more because it's so unjust. And if we would just fight back and get the revolution, we could just go ahead and get rid of all of that injustice. And also remember, because your ancestors were enslaved at some point or another, who really knows, because you might have just got here. But yeah, no, people who looked like you a long time ago did some stuff for a while. I know I'm kind of trivializing slavery, but you know what? If you go back in time far enough, everybody has been enslaved at one point or another. That's the damn thing about history. If you guys only want to start categorizing things from a certain point in time, there's always a little bit farther back you can go, and then it looks like, the Irish were enslaved. Different parts of Africa were enslaved. Ukrainians were enslaved. Okay, Northern English were enslaved by the Southern English. Okay, I get it, yeah. And that the first type of slavery where there was a notable racial difference was also the last instance of widespread slavery. So, yeah, I don't know. To be dragging up old concepts, which are just about 200 years, have been abolished for almost 200 years at this point, in order to justify today's living conditions in 2021, that's a bit of a bridge too far. You are generations removed from that, and even if you want to bring up stupid things like Jim Crow laws used to affect my grandparents, and you live in the North where this doesn't even matter, so you just want all of those victimhood points so people feel bad for you, so you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want, so that you can get away with heinous shit like Roberts here, who has been accused by law enforcement officers of opening fire on 5 people during 3 different attacks. All 5 were expected to recover. That's a good thing. Columbus, Georgia. Police Chief Freddie Blackman said Friday he was arrested and charged with aggravated assault, gun possession after felony conviction. So once again, he had another one of those guns that were made illegal by Democrats' gun control laws that really panned out, and that really worked. A possession of a gun during commission of a crime. In addition, police said the firearm was stolen and added a theft charge. Yep, there you go. So if you guys really want to stop this racial violence out there, you should probably start addressing the root cause of this stuff. It's all of your brainwashing that you're putting out there. Stop Asian hate. Unless it's a 78-year-old Asian man who gets sucker punched by Jamal walking down the street in fucking New York City. Then it's, there's no Asian hate over there, but look at that. There was that one mass shooting that happened in Atlanta a couple of months ago. We can continue to ride the coattails of that one. But yeah, like the end of this article says, police said there's no evidence that Roberts knew any of the victims, so he wasn't even trying to get vengeance. He was just going to try to get vengeance off the white population. He didn't care. Stories like this happen all the time, but these racial tensions, man, they keep heating up, and I don't really have any other context to compare to, at least during my life experience. Like, I don't know what the racial tensions were like in the United States around the civil rights era. Okay, I was 30 years prior to my birth, and nobody alive today except for Joe Biden remembers the Civil War, which I'd imagine is probably still a little bit higher than that. But we're on a trajectory right now, and this is kind of all across the globe at this point, where the racial divide has not been stronger. It has not been at this level. Like, I can tell you, especially up here in Canada, all of that racist talk is kind of finding its way up here, and it's permeating everything from the media to politics. And what we got for the final video today is a perfect example of that. Somebody, instead of trying to own up to their actions, trying to take responsibility for themselves, no, it's just all racism, and guess what, Justin Trudeau's a bad guy. Now, while I agree with the last statement, the fact that you're trying to deflect with that, it doesn't fucking wash with me, lady. So we will talk about that. I'm glad that all of these victims are going to be recovering, and people are going to be brought to justice for the crimes that they have committed. So let's move right along, shall we? I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. We'll catch you later.